The Book of Mormon is an invaluable repository of divinely crafted tutorials and warnings to us from an ancient people that inhabited this land of North America over 2,000 years ago. It lays out the plan of happiness for all of God's children, but also the very specific expectations that God has for us as inhabitants of this promised land in the modern day. And it is very relevant and timely to our situation and condition today in this country, and hence the set of warnings that it provides to us. Also, and very interestingly, we learn in the Book of Mormon that the Nephites kept the law of Moses. We're told that in 37 verses. And that makes the Book of Mormon very unique in that it is neither an exclusively Jewish text or an exclusively Christian text, but simultaneously both at the same time. A rare fusion of both, making it one of the most unique and fascinating books ever to have been written. Anyone who reads the Book of Mormon can plainly see that an uneducated, untraveled, unsophisticated farm boy in Joseph Smith could never have written or authored that book in any way. It was just so much bigger than him on every level. And you would think that people would be very excited or very open to the beautiful concepts and ideas that Joseph Smith brought forward about God the Father and about Jesus Christ and about the gospel and the plan of happiness. But in reality, they were very threatened by it because it threatened everything they had known and all their ways and ideas. And human nature is such that that's usually the result when people introduce new, expansive ideas. And that's unfortunate because Joseph Smith changed the whole dialogue of what God, who God was and what he was about in a much better way. And he became a loving God. And that just didn't resonate with so many people. I was able to go to the Great Serpent Mound in Ohio. And it's the largest effigy mound in the world. It's absolutely stunning in its architecture, its design. It's an amazing, amazing structure. And what's very interesting about the Great Serpent is the way that it aligns, the alignments that it has with the moon, with the solstices, with the sun, the geography the geometry and the mathematics of the serpent, the Great Serpent, are unparalleled. Whoever built these mounds, which I believe were the Hopewell, the Nephites, were very, very sophisticated mathematically. They had great truths. They had great cosmic truths. They had great spiritual truths that they were all pulling from to build this mound. And at one point, it's now been knocked over, but there was an altar there made of rough, uncut, unhewn stones that are, of course, in line with the law of Moses, which the Nephites were a law of Moses abiding people. And there was this altar there, and by the altar a pillar was erected that was about 10 to 12 feet in length and has since been pushed off the side. And interestingly enough, that mirrors Jacob's experience at Bethel. He was told to build an altar. The Lord came to him, changed his name to Israel, and after that great theophany, he erected a pillar by the altar, as was the instructions from God. And you find that exact thing happening here at the Great Serpent Mound. And it's just a phenomenal, phenomenal work of art and architecture by the people who built that, which I believe were the Nephites. The menorah mound is also called the Newark Earthworks. And very interesting mound that was because the controversy that surrounds it. Now, this controversy came from the fact that it was, in the words of one writer, deliberately reduced after it was discovered immediately. Now, to deliberately reduce this work of these earthworks would have taken great time, energy, and manpower because they were huge. Covered about 40 acres, and when it first was discovered in the 1850s or so, the walls were still 15 feet high, sometimes 33 feet wide. Now, the reason that this controversy exists because of the symbols that were built into these mounds: the menorah, a square, a compass, an old world oil lamp. When the explorers or the discoverers found that, of course, it spoke of a much earlier ancient people who could have built these, a Middle Eastern people, And that presented a problem for them of proof of a prior land claim. The U.S. government was very new and very young at that time and had no history of its own, so to speak, yet. And so a proof of a prior land claim would be very dangerous to entertain, because if, say, the Phoenicians, who they maybe thought had built it, or the Carthaginians showed up and said, this is our land and we've come back to claim it, that would present a real problem for the U.S. government. So the prevailing theory out there is that they immediately destroyed it, which is unfortunate because it's one of the most compelling mounds out there. Well, the cover-up was really based in the idea that they had to dismiss and relegate the Native Americans to the reservations. They had to basically discard their history and their advanced civilizations so that they could then justify this idea of manifest destiny. That we could come in, take the land, claim the land as ours, it was free game, and no one was here before, so it's this free land for whoever can claim it.
So would you say they're simultaneously destroying evidence of the Book of Mormon by doing that?
Yes, definitely, because here they had this book by Joseph Smith, the uneducated, unsophisticated farm boy who was making these claims of this ancient people, and all of a sudden here they have remains and ruins of an ancient people, and with the Hanukkiah Mound, an ancient Hebrew people. So suddenly now Joseph Smith looks like he could be legitimate, that his book could be actually genuinely legitimate, and that frightened a lot of people. They were trying to get rid of the Mormons. The last thing they wanted to do was fan the flames of Mormonism. They saw them as a scourge, and they needed to remove the Mormons and any evidence that was linked to them. And these mounds were a very compelling link to the people that Joseph Smith described in the Book of Mormon.